Let's change tack now and check what's happening in the world of business. The United Nations has warned that the coronavirus pandemic could wipe out 25 years of progress towards gender equality. A new report confirms that women have shouldered more of the burden of domestic tasks and childcare while losing out on employment and education opportunities. Well, let's turn to our business editor, Kate Moody. Kate, just tell us a bit more about the findings of that UN research.
It's on the financial, domestic, and educational inequality that existed before the pandemic has gotten worse, significantly worse, according to this new report by the UN. It looks into unpaid care and domestic work in 38 countries during which families around the world have spent more time in their homes and more time looking after their children because of school and daycare closures. Now, women around the world have spent an average of 31 hours per week on childcare. That's 5 hours more than they reported before the pandemic. Men, meanwhile, have reported spending about 3.5 more hours on childcare. Both women and men say they're doing more in terms chores, including cleaning and shopping, although the percentage is slightly higher for women, and it is significantly higher in some countries. There are differences between the countries that were surveyed here. Meanwhile, far more women than men have dropped out of the labor force. Analysts say that's because there is just a greater care burden at the moment, and women are having to take the sacrifice, making that professional sacrifice there. That could create a ripple effect that will outlast the pandemic itself. It could affect women's economic progress, independence, and of course, mental and emotional health.
Okay, and Kate, does the UN offer any solutions in that paper?
Well, it starts with acknowledging this problem of unpaid work, both by governments and employers. During the pandemic, the UN says that keeping childcare centers open is a real key step, keeping them open as much as possible anyway. More broadly, offering more family leave, paid family leave, would allow more flexibility and more equality. Now, this report does point out that governments around the world have taken really unprecedented measures to try to contain the economic and social fallout of the. It says that the bulk of responses have turned a blind eye to women's needs. And the head of the UN's Gender Inequality Unit says that without really targeted action here, there's a real risk of reverting back to 1950s gender stereotypes in the world.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that. Our business editor, Kate Moody, will be hearing from you again as well in the next hour or so. Thank you. That's it from me. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
Our reporters go to one of the epicenters of jihadism in West Africa. It's an area where the Islamic State organization and Al-Qaeda are competing to establish a vast caliphate across the Sahel. But local villagers are caught in the crossfire.
On ne sait pas peut-être qu'il y a des infiltrés dans la population, donc ils peuvent avoir des représailles sur eux.
The government has two main aims: keep people safe and recover territories in order to prevent the caliphate rising from its ashes on the African continent. Join our reporters and Niger's armed forces in Reporters on France 24 and France24.com.